Diabetes is now South Africa's leading recorded cause of death, with Statistics South Africa reporting more than 27,000 deaths linked to the disease in 2023. The growing burden of the lifestyle-related disease is raising concerns about prevention, early diagnosis and access to treatment. This is as more South Africans grapple with its potentially life-threatening complications. Doctors say lifestyle factors are driving the crisis. Many cases remain undiagnosed. We now speak to Dr. Patrick Ngassa Piotie, who is the chairperson of the Diabetes Alliance and co-founder of the University of Pretoria Diabetes Research Center. Dr. Patrick, thank you so much for taking time to speak to us and to educate us about the dangers of diabetes. But first, I'd like to just to get around the myths that are making rounds, or we grow up with, around diabetes, about what causes it and some of the lifestyle factors. To the untrained ear, to the untrained eye, someone can say, oh no, you eat too many sweets, that will cause you diabetes, or you eat too little sweets, that will cause you diabetes. But from a research and expertise point of view, what really causes it?
Thank you very much, and greetings to your viewers. Thank you for having me. Yes, diabetes happens to be quite a complex condition. There is multiple factors that are leading to the disease. We should first differentiate. There are different types of diabetes. We have type 1 diabetes that has a different pathophysiological pathways. It's an autoimmune condition. It happens, usually is diagnosed at a younger age, and there is really to date no cure for this treatment. Then you have, for this condition. Then you have type 2 diabetes. It happened at a much of an older age, and there are different factors like aging, family history, weight or overweight or obesity, and other factors. But when you look back and you're trying to explain why we're having such a high prevalence of diabetes, there are factors such as urbanization, whereby people are moving away from our rural communities to looking for economic opportunities in the cities. As a result, the way they live change, the food that they have access to is different. Yes, you can mention diet, exercising, and we are framed in the past diabetes as a lifestyle disease, but we realize that it's not the right approach, because this connotation is stigmatizing and is pointing the finger basically at the person living with diabetes. For example, yesterday, the Minister of Health was talking to Abile Mede, and he mentioned how healthy food is expensive and out of reach for the majority of the people. Yeah. He did mention that walking is free, but we know we are in most communities where it's not safe to go out for a walk. So when we say lifestyle disease, we need to realize that there are factors environmentally, socioeconomically, that are actually impacting and making the choice or pushing people to make certain choices. So that's it.
Yeah, I've been trying to make calls to a number of people that I know most probably know a little bit more about the disease and possibly live with it. And I wanted to find out about this myth busting of whether there's a link between taking of hypertension medication potentially leading to diabetes if you take it for a prolonged period. Is there any truth in that, and can you educate us more on that?
Oh, no, I'm not aware of any connection between medication, hypertension medication, and diabetes. It just happens that because diabetes affects the cardiovascular system, and hypertension is also a condition of the cardiovascular system, usually it's very common to find somebody who is living with diabetes who is also diagnosed or who also has hypertension. They are basically almost like twins. You find up to 90% of comorbidity between diabetes and hypertension. However, it has nothing to do with the medication. What this is actually telling us is that despite the fact that diabetes has now become the #1 cause of death, and we have yesterday the acknowledgement of the Minister of Health that we are in a crisis, we realize that the people in the ground, our community, are still very much unaware of what is going on. There is lack of appropriate information. There is lack of accurate right support, even for people with diabetes. So this is really a moment where once, as the minister have diagnosed that we are in a crisis with diabetes, we need to go to the next level, which is what is the treatment plan that we should apply now that we know that we are in a crisis.
Yeah, I'm reminded, Dr. Patrick, of the time around, I think it was around 1998, 97, there, when the prevalence of HIV was, when the HIV virus was more prevalent, and people were quite not knowing whether to go the medicinal route, which is taking off ARVs, and they were not so prevalent in any case at that time. They were just coming in. But also the issue of taking indigenous medicines and herbs and African medicines. What is your research saying about people who choose to go that route and say, I have this tree in my garden, I understand it's good for treating diabetes and I'll take that. What can you say to people like those who prefer to go the natural route?
No, thank you very much. We do appreciate the cultural background as Africans of our brothers and sisters, but we need to be careful. Until something is proven and has demonstrated effect, and I know even at the University of Pretoria, there are a lot of colleagues who are exploring the use of traditional medicines and local produce to manage diabetes. And that is really commendable, because the truth of the matter is a lot of the medications have been, the source is medicinal plants. Nonetheless, we need to be careful in how we advise people with diabetes. And even that's why we want to work with traditional healers. The story is diabetes has a treatment that is available at most clinics for free. What is lacking is the support in terms of the education and the accompaniment of those patients. You mentioned, for example, the HIV days, what I can describe as the HIV days, the crisis that South Africa was faced with many families losing their loved ones. The changing factors here was that as a country, we realized that we needed to act with urgency. We realized that we needed to empower community, and that takes investment. So when the minister declared diabetes a crisis, without us seeing a shift in the way budget is directed, without seeing a shift in even the way the department is working with community-based organizations, that's where we say, yes, it's good, we agree, we've been preaching the message of diabetes being a crisis. It means a lot for a lot of families and individuals that the acknowledgement has now come. The second step is let's work together and let's fix this system.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Dr. Patrick, about the emergence of the GLP-1 medications to fight insulin resistance and how that is, growing in numbers. What is your research department seeing? What are the trends that you are seeing about people who are not exposed to insulin resistance using GLP-1 just as a measure of weight loss? However, this medication is, of course, for insulin resistance and the prevention possibly of diabetes as well. Could you share more light into that?
Indeed. We haven't necessarily done any specific study on that, but obviously as researchers and public health specialists and clinicians, it's a topic that we hear about on conferences and all. And in any case, it's of concern and it's of interest to the public. Those products are definitely important. They do play a role. However, our message is that they should be used under the supervision of a trained clinician. We know about the fake SGLT1s or GLP1s in the market. We know about the challenge in terms of counterfeit goods. We say, because of safety, because this remains medicinal products, they should be prescribed by an expert. However, it is important that we acknowledge that they still remain quite expensive. Therefore, there couldn't be a reliance on those products to respond to the diabetes crisis. And yes, it might not be appropriate for those who might not have indication to use those products to be using them. Our message is really looking at the public health approach, looking at a broader societal approach to say we need to invest our resources elsewhere where we can reach communities, where we can impact the life of millions of people living with diabetes in South Africa.
Dr. Patrick, I don't have much time, but I'm really keen to hear this last question. If you could answer it for me as quickly as you can. Quick signs that one can look at in their bodies to say, oh, there might be a problem with relating to diabetes. Are there physical signs that one can see on their body? Look at their hands, for instance, to say, I may need to see a doctor. I may be exposed to diabetes.
Not really, but we can look at, for example, an unexplained weight loss. Somebody will be losing weight without being on an eating plan or without trying to lose weight. There's tiredness, unexplained tiredness. There's somebody who is eating a lot because they are always hungry. There's the blurry vision, and there's the fact that you will be obviously drinking a lot of water and passing urine consciously, especially at night. So these symptoms, obviously taken separately, cannot mean anything. But if you are 35, 40 years and above, if you might or might not have overweight or obesity, if you might have family history of diabetes, and you are seeing some of those symptoms, tiredness, blurry visions, loss of weight, and hunger and thirst, then you might want to go to your nearest clinic and get checked for diabetes.
Dr. Patrick Ngassa, Piotie, thank you so much. He's the chairperson of the Diabetes Alliance and also the co-founder of the University of Pretoria Diabetes Research Center. We've been touching on particularly most of the myths that we hear around our communities about what causes diabetes. He has dispelled those myths and the science right there at the end that one can really take a look at that will force you to go to your doctor to tell them of the symptoms that you're experiencing that may most likely be diabetes. But of course, you need a medical doctor to be able to diagnose you. Please don't diagnose yourself at home.